Hello again, Michael Ware with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. We have with us Lieutenant Governor Chris Cournoyer. This is a fantastic progression of what for me and for us, what Second Amendment advocacy and really looks like. It's a portrayal, I think, and where you can go when you put your best foot forward. So thank you for coming on this morning. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, and we'll hop right in.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you for having me, Michael. You're right. We do have a long history with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. I served for 6 years in the Iowa Senate, and before that, I was served as a school board member in Pleasant Valley. And of course, before that, didn't really have political ambition. Just God has a plan, and things kind of fall into place. Just a very brief history of my background. I'm mother of 4 children, live out here in LeClaire, right on the East Coast. I live right on the Mississippi River, can see Illinois from my house, which is where I like to keep it. And, my degree, my backgrounds, and you know what I'm saying. In fact, you know what, Michael, when I was the state senator, 2 gun manufacturers actually moved from Illinois over into my Senate district because they just couldn't do business over there anymore. It's just not a friendly state to basic freedoms. So, my degree and my background's in computer science. I was a self-employed website developer that allowed me to stay home and hold on, a train goes through my yard about 5 times an hour. So here comes one. And there it is. Okay. So, I was very happy being involved in my community and my kids' lives. And then, I had an issue come up on the school board. The school board member didn't call me back, so I ran against him. I mean, that's really, that's how I got into running for office. The guy wasn't doing his job. He wasn't returning phone calls. And so I thought I should step up. I can either complain or I can step up and get involved. And while I was on the school board, we started the trap shooting team at Pleasant Valley High School. My oldest son was interested in it, and we didn't have a place for them to, a team for them at Pleasant Valley. So we started the trap shooting team, which I'm very proud of. And then got recruited to run for the Iowa Senate. And, last fall, the governor asked me to be her lieutenant governor. So I served locally, not only on the school board, I was also a reserve deputy in the Scott County Sheriff's Office for just over 5 years. I became an NRI certified gun instructor. Something happened at my home, and I realized that I better get some training to protect myself and my family. So I went through the whole gamut of NRA courses. I got basic pistol, then I took personal protection in the home, personal protection outside the home. And then, my instructor said, it'd be really great to have a female instructor, especially for the women's classes. And I was like, okay, I'm in. So got certified as an NRA instructor, and that was something that I really enjoyed. Because I think it's important, for people to get the right firearm for them and to be able to get trained so that, hopefully, the time never comes where you'll need it to protect yourself, but it's best to be prepared and trained. And I like to be part of that and be on that journey, especially for women who, at first, they don't even want to touch it because they think it's going to explode, but then all of a sudden they can't wait to get back to the range and practice. So, it's been a journey. I was looking back through my notes of all we've accomplished, since I was involved and got to know you and Richard at the you're a lobbyist at the Capitol, and we've come a long way from castle doctrine and stand your ground and the permit to carry, to constitutional carry and a lot of the hunting and fishing and conveyance and just, basic freedoms for people in Iowa, to the point where I was one of the freest states in the nation for firearms owners. That's something to really be proud of.
It is. You're right. That segues nicely into the 4 questions I'd like to ask you. We started by doing this, Lieutenant Governor, as basically the Second Amendment litmus test. I mean, you'll probably agree that if you, as a politician, as a citizen, if you don't get an understanding of the Second Amendment correct, it's unlikely that you'll do any of the others well. And so it's really proven to be a universal litmus test for us. And so we came up with 4 questions that lead into our legislative agenda for this year, and some things we have yet to accomplish. And we asked all the gubernatorial candidates, and it's spiraled now in all the candidates are saying, I'm quite willing to weigh in on those. So I'll read those if you're willing,
Okay.
and the context, and then ask the question for all four, and we'll listen to how you respond. And then if you're willing to hang on just a little bit longer when we're done with that, I'd like to share your website and let you give us a little bit more about you that we want the voters to understand.
Very good.
Okay, I'll share that screen right now. For those of you watching, you'll see it, and we'll be audible about this for those that are listening so that they can catch up too. So this is from a blog on our site, iowafc.org, and it's regarding the universal litmus test that is the Second Amendment. So I'll get to the questions here. Here's the first. Here's the context. History has shown that making a rule or posting a sign declaring a place a no-gun zone, such as a school, does nothing to protect the people gathered there. In fact, there's irrefutable evidence that some of the worst mass murderers specifically chose those sites to avoid armed resistance. Federal law and some states' laws allow a person with a valid permit to carry a firearm in schools and on school property. So this is the question. Will you support changing Iowa code to support a permit to carry being sufficient for any school?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done some of that already, but I'll go back to why I ran for school board to begin with, and it what precipitated that was the Sandy Hook shooting, where 20 of the 26 victims were first graders, and that happened to be the same age as my twin boys at the time. And when at the time my school was unlocked, and you opened the front door, and you were in the school, and there was no resistance whatsoever. And I called my school board member to say, what are we doing to protect our kids at school? And he didn't return my phone calls. So when I ran for school board, I made school security a top priority for mine, because if you don't feel safe at school, you can't learn, and you can't live up to your full potential. So absolutely, gun-free zones do nothing but give a free pass to anybody that wants to do harm to that location. So, I think last year we passed the bill, or we had one where retired or off-duty law enforcement could carry on school permit, school grounds, and then authorizing local school boards to do the same. And I think absolutely we need to protect our children with law-abiding citizens who are trained to protect them while they are at school, so they can learn, live up to their full potential, because it's egregious to have our most precious citizens, our children, be unprotected when they're at school.
Agreed. Okay, yeah. Here's the second one. When an employer bans the possession of a firearm or ammunition in a private vehicle on employer property, employees must face the choice of risking dismissal by ignoring the rule, or being disarmed from the time they leave home until they return, no matter how long their commute or how many other places they need to visit. IFC believes that the proper place to draw the line between the rights of employers and the rights, including the expectation of privacy and the right to be armed in self-defense, is at the locked door of a private vehicle. The laws of at least 26 other states agree. The question is this: will you support legislation to protect Iowans from the de facto firearm ban on private and public employer parking lots?
Yes.
Mic drop. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Here's the third one. Since 1934, federal law has tightly regulated but does not prohibit the private ownership of machine guns, suppressors, short-barreled rifles, and shotguns, destructive devices, all NFA items, so to speak. Iowa law terms these offensive weapons. And since 2016-17, Iowa has allowed for the private ownership and use of suppressors, short-barreled rifles, and shotguns. The repeal of the state's earlier prohibition has not resulted in any apparent problems. Iowa is one of only 14 states that ban the private possession of machine guns, even when in full compliance with federal law. Nationwide, crime committed with lawfully possessed machine guns has been almost non-existent. IFC believes Iowa's ban on offensive weapons is redundant and unnecessary. The question is this: will you support removing 724.1 and related statutes from Iowa code?
Yes. Once again, it's all about law-abiding citizens and their right to legally possess those firearms and be responsible gun owners. That's what it's all about.
Agreed. Okay, here's the fourth one. The Iowa Firearms Coalition advocates for the creation of a specially Gadsden flag license plate in Iowa, symbolizing Second Amendment rights and opposition to government overreach. The plate is intended to be a voluntary funding mechanism for 2A educational programs through the additional fee. Despite passing the Iowa House on both bipartisan support 2 years consecutively, the measure failed in the Senate, prompting IFC to urge Iowans to contact their legislators in support of the plate, which they see as a reflection of the will of the people, especially following the passage of the state's Freedom Amendment. The historical "Don't Tread on Me" motto of the Gadsden flag is highlighted as a powerful statement against government intrusion. Here's the question. Will you support the Gadsden plate legislation that directs voluntary funding for 2A education, safety, and training?
Yes. Well, as you recall, Michael, one of my last bills that I floor managed in the Iowa Senate was this particular bill. I ran it through the Ways and Means Committee. It got through committee, and all it needed to do was be brought to the Senate floor. And I'm not sure what the reason was that the Senate leadership didn't bring it to the floor, but I floor managed this bill all the way through as far as I could get it. So of course I support it.
Yes, it came down, just for everybody's edification, it came down to the wire. I'm not entirely sure I understand why we didn't make it over the finish line, but we're making every effort at doing that this year. So thank you again for your support, and thank you for your stance on those 4 items. Now, let me share your website, and so everybody understands what you're saying is self-explanatory. What you're listening to is CournoyerForIowa.com, and I'll spell that out to make sure that there are no mistakes here. I'm just going to share that now. And that is C-O-U-R. Yes, I'm glad you corrected me. I walked right out and stepped in it. CournoyerFor Iowa. So CournoyerForIowa.com. When you Google it, you're not going to have any trouble navigating there. You'll find it. But this is the Lieutenant Governor's site. Why don't I hand this over to you, and you let us know what the other things that we need to know about you for this race?
Well, obviously the auditor doesn't have a lot of influence over, the bills and legislation that goes through the process. However, I think it's always important to have allies at the state level. So right now, I was in the Senate for 6 years. The Governor Reynolds, picked me to replace Adam Gregg last December, right in the middle of wrestling season, and I had 2 state qualifying wrestlers in my house at the time. So I have been the Lieutenant Governor for just over a year. And because the governor chose not to seek re-election, I had to look at what that looked like for my future. And with the open state auditor seat, I decided to run for that seat. And there's a couple reasons why I decided to do that. So I have been very disappointed in the current state auditor in that he has really politicized the state auditor seat. And the state auditor has one job: to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, and help local governments institute best practices and generally accepted accounting process principles, and hold any bad actors accountable. So it shouldn't be politicized. You shouldn't care if a bad actor is a Democrat or Republican. You need to hold bad actors accountable and help make sure that every penny that Iowa taxpayers are paying into government is used responsibly and effectively. So since being on in the Senate and in the governor's office, we've worked very hard on government efficiency, reducing the size of government. One example is, before the governor did her government efficiency bill, she merged several departments. Each department had its own IT department. And they did their own procurement and had all their own software licenses. And just putting all departments under one IT umbrella, we've already saved Iowa taxpayers $210 million.
Wow.
And that's just in 2 years, Michael. So there's a lot of opportunity. And I think with my background in technology, this is a good time for me to get into that position of state auditor and use technology, not only to root out that waste, fraud, and abuse, but also help be a resource for local governments to leverage technology to be more efficient and effective in how they deliver services to the citizens of Iowa. So that's my background. That's my pitch. I think my background, especially, when I was a school board member, as assessments were going up, we lowered our school levy by 41 cents to cover our school budget, which was certified. And so I have shown throughout my career since 2013 that I am a fiscal conservative, looking out for the taxpayer. In the Senate, I voted to cut taxes 6 times, including a flat 3.8% flat rate on income tax, getting rid of the retirement income tax, getting rid of the inheritance tax. So looking out for the taxpayer and being a true watchdog. And the other thing is making sure that those audits get done in a timely manner. Currently, the state auditor is sometimes a year, 2 years out from the end of a fiscal year on the audit. So getting those audits done in a responsible, a timely manner is something that I will make a priority when I become the state auditor. But, once again, we've had a good relationship with, I've had a good relationship with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. In fact, I was going through my notes. Do you remember House File 716?
Yes, I do.
That was
of course.
Yeah, that was a big one, and I was very proud, as a former, a firearms instructor and someone that is an enthusiast. When Senator Whitfer asked me to run that bill in the Iowa Senate, Matt Winchell shepherded it through the House, and when he asked me to run the bill in the Iowa Senate, it was the honor of a lifetime. Really, it was a very important bill to get done in 2020, and I was proud to do that. So, again, the auditor doesn't have a lot of influence or involvement in what goes through the legislative process. But again, as a statewide official, currently as the lieutenant governor, and then as a statewide elected official being in the auditor's office, I think it's always important to have allies at that level, to always be on the lookout for misuse or waste, fraud, and abuse in any form. And that includes our right to keep and bear arms.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you bringing that forward. I've tried very hard when I've offered these, or when IFC rather has offered these candidate files, so to speak, to pull myself back from that and not interject much. But I'm compelled, and I'll do this for anybody that would like it. I'm compelled to remind folks, if you're a Christian, you open up First Timothy and you start going through it. There's a section, I think it's in the 3rd chapter. About the qualifications for overseers of church, the deacons, the pastors, whatever else. And I was going down through there, and it occurred to me, none of those are skill sets, Lieutenant Governor. They're all issues of character. So I understand the Second Amendment may not play directly, and it's probably in some regards, it's barely indirect to what you're going to do as the state auditor. But how you carry yourself and the inputs in you, your character is going to carry forward in your job. And when I talked about the Second Amendment being the ultimate litmus test for politicians especially, I meant it because it's foundational to your understanding and how you're going to relate with somebody else. So I really appreciate that, and I'm glad you couched it that way. I think people need to understand that, and I really appreciate you mentioning it like that.
Absolutely, Michael. It's been an honor to serve. It wasn't anything that was ever on my wheelhouse or my bingo card of life, but I think God has a plan, and I have really been very gratified in my service, public service, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to continue to serve Iowans in this new role as state auditor.
Fantastic. I appreciate you coming on again. We're showing the website, but for those people listening, it's Cournoyer4Iowa.com, COURNOYER for Iowa.com. Go check it out. I appreciate the Lieutenant Governor coming on with us today. I appreciate our work together in the past. I look forward to what comes next. Thank you again.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael.